In this presentation, I'm going to be going over classroom technology, problems and their solutions, but I'm also going to be going over some issues that do not necessarily involve technology. So first, we're going to go over some basic problems with technology in the classroom before we go into basic issues. One of the biggest problems could be the cost of technology, which we'll go into the next slide, and students misusing technology, and this is also another big issue involving classrooms today, and students and educators as well. The first problem is the cost of technology. The cost of technology can range from $142 to $490 per student. And it's no secret that technology costs a lot of money, especially when it comes to supplying the classrooms. One of the reasons this is the biggest issue is because there is not a good level of equilibrium between classrooms. For example, private schools and low funding schools have a big difference when it comes to technology. And public funding is also an issue because it's not as helpful as many would think it would be. Another issue would be many school districts lack the appropriate funds. That is one of the biggest issues regarding this because a lot of school districts don't have the money they need to have technology. And one of the issues with technology is ever evolving. It's constantly changing. So with that being said, you might have one thing for 1 year, but is that going to be the most efficient way of teaching in, let's say, 5 years? You know what I'm saying? So with possible solutions for the first problem, we have fundraisers and grants. This could definitely help some lower funding schools because this allows them the chance to get some money for technology. This is definitely one of the most popular things that happens, and even today, this is a very popular tactic that helps schools get appropriate technology. The only problem with this is it may work for presently, but of course, technology is ever improving. It's always changing. So what works now may not work necessarily in 5 years, and you have the problem once again. Number two would be develop a shared vision. This is very important, especially including maybe a educational board, a school board. This would be very important with the community, allowing them to have a shared vision of how they want to get this money and how they want to use technology in their classroom. Number three would be increase student and parent access to community centers. So even if you can't necessarily bring technology into the classroom, it's good to give students and parents access to other ranges of it. For example, a public library or allowing students to a computer lab in school. Problem two, students misusing technology. This is definitely one of the biggest issues with technology in schools today. It's no secret students can misuse technology if not being watched properly. One of the biggest problems teachers and schools face is being able to limit what students access. Because on the internet, they have a wide range of anything. While some schools have a limit on what students can actually serve on their Wi-Fi access, a lot of schools don't have this. So it allows students to do kind of whatever they want on the internet and they can do what they need to do. And during class, it can be easy for students to abuse this privilege and surf the web. This is another big issue because once again, if you don't have certain things in place, students can easily misuse technology. So instead of paying attention to a lesson or using technology for their work, they could easily go on it and surf the web, go on social media, check social media, or even text their friends. The solution to this issue could be a variety of things. For one, mirrors in the classroom. So putting the mirrors in the back of the classroom or the front, this can give the teacher kind of more eyes on what's going on in the classroom. Another thing kind of going along with this would be circulation. It's really good that the teacher constantly walks around the classroom to make sure that students are using technology appropriately and not using it for other issues that have nothing to do with what's going on in the classroom. A second solution could be establish an electronic policy. Now, this could be kind of a mixed bag because you still could have students misuse it, but putting your foot down and telling students what they need to be doing and what they could use. Like let's say they're working on a project, they can only have maybe a laptop or an iPad out. They can't have a phone out. That definitely helps limit what they could be doing. Number three would be student attention. I feel like if you are able to keep your students' attention, that definitely helps. Students usually surf the web or kind of break through when they're bored or when they're not being attentive. So having students' attention will definitely help keep them from abusing this power of technology. So now we're going to go over some additional problems in schools that don't necessarily include technology. Number one would be some high schools start too early, which we'll go into the next slide. Number two could be drain and motivation with current students. Problem one, schools starting too early. One of the biggest issues in schools today is schools start too early, especially high schools. Most teenagers do not get enough sleep, and this can hinder their ability to learn or even pay attention. According to the Sleep Foundation, teenagers need 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night, more than the average adult. Why is this? Because it is crucial because teenagers' bodies are changing. They're going through puberty. They're going through that big change in their life. Their hormones are all over the place. they need a good sleep schedule. They need to be able to have enough rest. And the truth is, with everything going on in high school and with the amount of work it requires of that individual with the student, a lot of students sometimes may not get home until like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock because of extracurricular activities. They have to do homework, they have to go to, and then by the time they get to bed, it could be midnight, and then most of them would have to get up by 6 a.m. for class, and that's just not going to work for the majority of them because you're not giving. That's only about 5 to 6 hours of sleep. You're not giving them the full amount of sleep they need. Yes, weekends do offer buffer period, and I understand it could be definitely more of a student issue. However, this can help students' grades and help motivation in class because this is a very important problem that we are currently facing. So problem three, the solutions. The biggest fix is definitely clear, which is pushing the starting time to no earlier than 8:30. A lot of high schools in the area, and not just in the area, but around the country, have begun to take this step forward and pushing start times back. For example, the high school that I went to, originally we started at 7:45 in the morning. After I left, of course, after I left. But after I left, they changed from 7:45. They now do not start class until 8:20. It's not 8:30, but it's definitely going in the right direction. You're allowing students even just an extra 30 minutes of sleep can help a lot. And even just pushing class back can definitely be an improvement for these students. One important thing is, yes, because school's being pushed back, make it made earlier, is it possible that they're going to have to stay later? And that usually depends on the district. Most of the time, no, because you have a lot of buffer times with school days anyway that you can kind of alter a little bit. Another solution would be pushing the time often helps students with attention, attendance, and improved mood. Studies have shown this, especially with the Washington Post, and it's proven that pushing times back to maybe 8:30 a little bit later has helped with students. It's helped their grades, it's helped their motivation. Problem four would be drain motivation. This is probably, even including technology and basic issues, this is by far the biggest issue in schools today. With motivation, a lot of teachers don't know how to properly motivate their students. And teachers often fail to keep students engaged, and this will often weaken motivation. If a student is bored during a lesson, they're not going to put the effort in, and they're going to feel drained. I guess, for me, for example, it would be a math course. I'm not the best at math, and I feel like if a student is not able to even understand it, but also don't find it interesting, this could be an issue. And again, this isn't always the teacher's fault, but teachers are able and are very well capable of making these things more fun and attentive for students. And because of this, students can often experience burnout because many teachers do not allow students to breathe. Even in college nowadays, a lot of teachers will only really think about their class. When it's also important that educators need to be aware that students are taking a wide variety of courses and they're trying to pay attention equally to each course, and that can be very hard because some educators will throw everything at their students all at once. It can be very stressful for them. Problem four, solutions. So one of the biggest things is we need to allow students to breathe. We need to allow them to take care of themselves. This can also go with self-care, which Oxford Learning wrote an article about that is super in depth. It talks about allowing students to self-care. And another solution to this burnout issue would be enough sleep, which of course we talked about earlier. Allowing students time to breathe, enough sleep, and self-care can really help them motivate. It can give them more motivation to do better in school, and it can help them stay in school and do better and have better grades throughout this process. And these are the references that we used for this presentation. Thank you.